Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Roam with Romy, where we explore case studies and uncover patterns and red flags so that you can make wiser choices in life, love, and anything in between. I know y'all like my new intro. Before we get started on today's case study, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Disclaimer: the views that I will share in this video are based on opinions and also public information that is found online. Thank you to all of my new subbies. I welcome you to the family. I haven't been able to respond to everyone individually. However, just know that I do read your messages, and I thank you so much for the support and the love that you have been showing me on all of these case studies. It does not go unnoticed. Also, for all of my members, thank you so much for being patient with me. This month has been really crazy for your girl as far as busy, but I am going to get back into it, and you can expect some members only case studies coming up very soon. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start with this case study. This case study might be a sensitive one for some because it's concerning Black love. And not only Black love, but also two of the most notable rappers that we have in our generation. None other than Remy Ma and Papoose. These two have had an extensive career in hip-hop. Well, one more than the other. Before we can get into their relationship and how it ended up imploding in front of our very eyes, let's get into their childhoods, because y'all know I like to dive into childhood because it gives us an idea of the environment that they grew up in. Let's start with Remy Ma first. Reminisce Keone Smith, otherwise known as Remy Ma, was born on May 30th, 1980 in the Bronx, New York. Now, May 30th, sis is a Gemini. Now, I know that many of you probably do not believe in astrology, and that is okay. However, I do believe that there are some signs and wonders, and there are certain personality profiles that fit. I want to make sure that you guys realize that she is a Gemini. Now, as far as her childhood, sis has had a rough life. In an interview with Complex Magazine, Remy said that she was an honor roll student, and she wrote poetry about growing up in the Castle Hill section of the South Bronx. She had a tough upbringing. Her mother was locked up for a time, and her biological father didn't appear until she was 18 years old. So she grew up pretty much in an unstable household without a father present and a mother possibly in and out of jail. This type of experience, just right out the gate, is already letting me know that sis was set up for failure when it comes to statistics. She also witnessed a lot of abuse in her childhood and in her environment. Remy said, "I grew up in a time and in a home where abuse of women was the norm. It was common and like nothing for a woman in my family to have a black eye from her partner, or to hear a story about how one of them had been abused by a family member or friend. So at a really young age, I vowed to never tolerate such behavior, not at home and not anywhere else." At the young age of 13 years old, she decided to channel her emotions through poetry. And through her poetry and writing, she also started rapping. The first song that Remy ever recorded was titled, she asked, "Do you think about dying? Why would you take your own life?" In this interview, she continues to say, "If I were to write that now, it would be considered deep. I never had bubblegum kitty bop rhymes." Sis went through such a traumatic experience. We see trauma all over her childhood. And with that trauma, we can also see that she didn't have any type of guidance, especially from the adults in her life. It's very sad to me because already I can see that sis was suffering. The International Center for Criminal Law and Reform and Criminal Justice Policy, ICCLR, published a paper titled "The Psychological Consequences for Children of Incarcerated parents. This paper goes into what happens to a child and their mental health when one of their parents gets incarcerated. Children react to a parent's incarceration differently at different points in their developmental trajectory. Children who witnessed a parent's arrest were more likely to have difficulty regulating emotions, performed worse on a receptive vocabulary test, and exhibited more anxious/depressed behaviors than children who did not witness the arrest. Children react to a parent's incarceration differently at different points in their developmental trajectory. This concern is often conceptualized from an attachment perspective. We always talk about anxious, avoidant, secure attachment, and so on and so forth. There are different styles, right? Separation early in life disrupts the formation, development, and maintenance of the mother-child relationship, which results in insecure attachment. Insecure attachment can predict behavioral concerns that manifest as either internalizing, which is through anxiety, guilt, loneliness, or externalizing, which is through aggression, rule breaking, problems later on in development. And by the time these children had reached adolescence, aggressive behavior had increased significantly, and attention issues were more prevalent in children with imprisoned fathers versus children whose fathers were absent for other reasons. Comparatively, children of incarcerated mothers appear to be more at risk for these developmental consequences than those with incarcerated fathers. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, published an article in October of 2024, so just last year, where they went over adverse childhood experiences. ACEs are potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood from the ages of 0 to 17 years. Examples include experiencing violence, abuse, or neglect. And in Remy's case, that's what she saw. Witnessing violence in the home or community, having a family member attempt or die by S-word. Also included are aspects of the child's environment that can undermine their sense of safety, stability, and bonding. Examples can include growing up in a household with substance abuse problems, mental health problems, instability due to parental separation, instability due to household members being in jail or prison. These examples are not a complete list of adverse experiences. Many other traumatic experiences could impact health and well-being. And so the outcomes will manifest also in your health. So not just in your mental health, but also physical health as well. That's what I want to highlight. ACEs can have lasting effects on health and well-being in childhood and life opportunities well into adulthood. Life opportunities include things like education and job potential. These experiences can increase the risk of injuries, STIs, and involvement in trafficking. They can also increase risk for maternal and child health problems, including teen pregnancy, pregnancy complications, and fetal death. Also included are a range of chronic diseases and leading causes of death, such as cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and S-word. ACE and associated social determinants of health, such as living in under-resourced or racially segregated neighborhoods, can cause toxic stress. Toxic stress or extended or prolonged stress from ACEs can negatively affect children's brain development, immune system, and stress response systems. These changes can affect children's attention, decision-making, and learning. And now the last part here. Children growing up with toxic stress may have difficulty forming healthy and stable relationships. They may also have unstable work histories as adults and struggle with finances, job stability, and depression throughout life. These effects can also be passed on to their own children. Some children may face further exposure to toxic stress from historical and ongoing traumas. These historical and ongoing traumas include experiences of racial discrimination or the impacts of poverty resulting from limited educational and economic opportunities. Let's stop it right here. So we already know that sis grew up in the projects. So that's already the racial segregation and limited opportunities. Then sis grew up in an abusive household. And then one of her parents was incarcerated. The other one was absent until she was 18. And now that we have research that shows the effects of that, not only mentally and physically, then now when I go over what happened with her and Papoose, you're going to have a better understanding of the mindset of the person that we're dealing with here. Now that we've gone over the trauma and the childhood that she was subjected to, let's go over her big break. Sis started to use her penmanship as therapy. What ended up happening was that she was introduced to Big Pun. In case you guys do not know who Big Pun is, he was a very notable rapper in the underground scene, and also he became mainstream. He was one of the biggest rappers coming out of New York in the mid 90s to early 2000s before he sadly passed away. He was also signed to the Terror Squad label, which was under Fat Joe. Now, I know a lot of you guys know who Fat Joe is because he's also a big rapper out of New York City, and he's notable. For Remy to be discovered by him, that was a big deal, especially the fact that she was 17 years old. Knowing that she was an aspiring rapper, Big Pun's friend invited her to Big Pun's house.
He lived around the corner from my mom and one of his friends and one of my friends. And one day I was walking home from school, just randomly. Like, he never heard me, nothing. He was like, yo, I'm around the corner. I got this chick here. She's saying that she can rap. I'm like, yo, bring her over.
When he met her, he said, hey, I heard you could rap.
I went and got my mom and I took my mother with me. 40, 50 dudes in the crib, mad deep.
And so she started spitting for him, and she had a 24-bar verse. She said, I inhale the deepest cock back and bust rhymes at your speakers. I'm troubleshoot out the air bubbles in your speakers. Remy Martin dash reminisce / Remy cash like a check in a stash. Me without rhymes is like a flint with no flash. Stripper with no ass. Car with no gas. Sis was spitting bars.
So I start rapping. I say my shit. Like, I'm rapping for like 3-4 minutes straight. He like, all right, that's dope. And he looked at me dead in my face and was like, but that could be your only hot rap. So let me hear another one. So I do it again. Like, all right, like, this is what I do. Like, whatever.
Pun then asked if she wrote her own rhymes. And she said, I thought it was the dumbest question on this earth. Like, what do you mean? Who writes them? Remy remembers.
And then she's like, so who be writing your shit? Like, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I was so confused. I had never heard of a ghostwriter.
Pun then explained that some women rappers at the time used ghostwriters. That is very true, y'all. So Remy answered him and said, I was like, you're lying. I heard a couple reference tracks and it really bothered me. I just felt like it was cheating. The 2 verses, which Remy definitely wrote, made her Pun's prized pupil. Pun was very impressed that she could write her own lyrics. And once he found that out, then the rest was history. He invited her to join him and his group, and Pun took her under his wing. Pun became her mentor. While Pun was working on his sophomore album, Yeah Baby, Remy was present for the sessions, and she would be in the studio with him, so they'd be chopping it up, rapping lyrics, yada yada yada. Occasionally, Pun would make her rhyme for visitors, issuing a 1-word command: rap. Listen, I don't know why it said it like that, because it made it seem like he was just fetch, like rap, and she would just start rapping. Like many women in hip-hop before and after her, Remy spent her formative years in the industry having to impress a room full of men. So Remy, remember, she didn't have any adult guidance. And this is probably the first time that she's felt part of a family. This is a family full of men. And she is a young lady. So you can imagine the dynamic here. Hip hop as a music genre is already dominated by men. And now you have this young 17-year-old having to adapt to that environment. Now remember, she was also under survival mode as a child. We can already see that sis was raised in a masculine environment.
I used to hang out with my brother's friends. My brother had got locked up, and my brother's older than me. So all his friends used to be like my brothers. And they would take me, they used to be the ones to take me to different hoods and have me battling. Because I was nice, but nobody knew I was nice. I was a girl, so they used to front on me. They used to literally take me, hop out the car, and have me taking money.
Masculine energy and feminine energy is found in both men and women. I want to make that extremely clear. Sis has dominant masculine energy right out the gate. We can already see that. She could not rest in her femininity because she was always in flight or fight mode, survival mode. So that means that she had to be aggressive. And I know some people are going to be like, well, aggressive, don't use aggressive with black women. Listen, there's no other word I could use for it because it's her energy, not her face or physical demeanor. I'm talking about her energy is going to be dominant. Let's get back to the story. For the most part, though Remy, still a novice at this point, listened and learned. So she started learning from these men about basic song structure, the importance of concepts, and a strong chorus became ingrained in her head. She basically was getting trained by one of the greatest. The story continues. Pun planned to showcase his new artist on Yeah Baby and wanted fans to get that same feeling he had when he sat in his underwear and heard Remy Ma rap for the first time.
Pun is working on his Yeah Baby album. He already put out Still Don't Wanna Play and the Bodie where I'm on that shit. He already double platinum already. He's double platinum already. He's big Pun. So we go to Pun Crab and he's sitting on the couch. It's fucking boxes and a white people. This thing's like 600 pounds. I'm like, oh my god. Go some clover. Like,
red flag, y'all. We got our first red flag. Because, sir, rest in peace, Big Pun. He is no longer here on this earth. But what do you mean? He sat in his underwear and heard Remy Ma rap for the first time. This man, grown man, was in his underwear while a 17-year-old girl was rapping? Unacceptable behavior. And this man was a big guy, y'all. He's a very big dude. Why is he in his underwear? I really hope that he just sat in his underwear and that's all sis was subjected to, because Lord, I don't even want to know what he looked like sitting in his underwear. So he suggested she spit the same rhyme she spit for him that day. The record Miss Martin, which features Ma spitting extended verses while Pun relegated to the hook, made the final track list. For the first time, Remy believed she could have a career in rap. After joining the group Terror Squad, Remy was signed to Columbia Records in 2000. Her very first breakout song was on the remix of Annie Up by the group MOP. After her successful feature on the Annie Up remix, she was also featured on Fat Joe / the Terror Squad songs Lean Back. Then sadly, her mentor Big Pun passed away, and Fat Joe then assumed the role of being her mentor.
What a lot of people don't know is that I didn't know Pun that long. I met him in like September of '99, and like 6 months later,
What?
he wasn't here. And I was with him every day. From the day I met him, I was with him every day.
Every day.
Because of her contribution to those records, Sis started to see the fruits of her labor. She decided to release her own studio album where she demanded full creative control, which was titled There's Something About Remy, based on a true story. The singles that came out of this album were titled Whatever, Conceited, and Feel So Good. Although the album was a critical success in the industry, it didn't really garner any commercial success. And by that, I mean the money, y'all. The financial success just wasn't there. And she only sold 37,000 units in the opening week and 158,000 units within the first year. And unfortunately, if you're a debut artist, this is not really good for numbers. It says here that Remy was frustrated by the way the album was being promoted by her label. And there was also tension between her and Fat Joe because Pun passed away. Y'all remember that? And so then she parted ways with Universal and also separated herself from Fat Joe and the Terror Squad. While Remy was with the Terror Squad and trying to make her name in hip-hop, Papoose was also doing the same. Shameli Mackey, otherwise known as Papoose, was born on March 5th, 1978. Which makes him a Pisces. Papoose was raised in the Bedford-Stuy neighborhood of Brooklyn. He grew up in a 2-parent household, and his parents are still together. He also grew up with a lot of siblings, so he had more of the stability that Remy was missing. We're going to see how this connects to their relationship. Not much is known about Papoose's childhood. However, he does kind of talk about it. And one thing that I noticed that he revealed about his upbringing is that he wanted what his parents had. He is extremely family oriented, and we're going to talk about that later on when we dive into their relationship. In one interview that he did with the Drink Champs, he went over how he got started in hip hop. There was a DJ by the name of K-Slay who had a radio show on Hot 97, which is one of the biggest radio shows in New York. And he got locked up for a few months. Now, Papoose also went to jail. The fact that he got locked up lets you know he was in the streets. While he was locked up, he decided that he was going to take hip hop seriously. Usually in prison, that's when people start to really, have plans and dreams and thoughts, because that's all you can think about all day. And so he decided that he wanted to pursue music because he has a way with words and he knew that he had the talent to make it.
Just being in the hood, hip hop was always my dream.
When he got out of prison, he focused and he recorded 7 songs. And he decided to go to Hot 97 because one day while he was listening to radio, he heard DJ K-Slay's segment, and he was introducing new artists and would play their songs. Rest in peace to DJ K-Slay. He sadly passed away from COVID a few years ago. He decided to go to Hot 97 himself. He walked over there and he gave DJ K-Slay his mixtape. He waited for him to come downstairs, gave him his mixtape. And then he was waiting for his song to be played on the radio, and the song wasn't played on the radio.
Gave me, my name Papoose, man. Here you go, this is my demo. Slay, he took it and went in the building. I went to the radio, I'm listening. I don't hear my song.
He went again for the second time. Gave him his demo. DJ K-Slay took it, but didn't play his song again. And so this happened a few times, and then he got angry. And then he called the station and decided to spaz out on DJ K-Slay.
I call up from down in the car. He picks up. I'm like, oh. So he like, yo, what's up? I'm like, yo, man, why you ain't playing my song? He like, yo, everybody can't be a rapper, man. Some people gotta be a fireman. I'm like, oh, listen to me.
Now, after their back and forth, he finally got his wish. And they decided to play him on the radio. And the rest was history. What I will say is that Papoose seems like a very persistent man. He does not take no for an answer, which I can appreciate, because if this has to do with your career, then you're going to go all in. And it shows you that when he really wants something, he'll put his 100% effort. So we know that, and we can see that here, right? Following this momentous meeting with DJ K-Slay, Papoose started to put out a lot of mixtapes and began making a name for himself.
It's DJ K-Slay, the Drama King. And for those of y'all that don't know, I'm working with a new artist. He goes by the name of Papoose.
So now that we know their childhood and their individual journeys breaking into hip hop, let's get into how these two lovebirds met. They were bound to meet because they're both in the same field and they were connected through the same people. How they met is very interesting. There were a lot of red flags. Red flags. I'm going to do things a little differently with this case study because, we're dealing with the Black Love Brigade, and I don't want people coming after your sis, you know what I mean? Because y'all know how it is. You can't touch black love, especially in hip hop. I'm going to highlight the red flags and also the green flags. And this will be for any subsequent case study that I do going forward. You guys are going to make your conclusion at the end of this case study. Now, let's start with how they met. Remy and Pap met in 2004, which means that they met each other at the start of their careers. They were introduced to each other by their mutual friend, Slay, because Slay worked with both of them, and they were both pumping out mixtapes and trying to get their names known in New York at the time.
A mutual friend by the name of DJ K-Slay, he actually introduced us to each other.
Now, how Remy tells the story is that she was supposed to work with Slay, and he would have these mixtapes come out. Remy was used to being #1 and having the #1 spot because, on the album, there's like #1 to whatever. And then all of a sudden, one day, she listened to a mixtape and she was no longer #1. and she started to get tight.
There's this guy named Papoose that's number 1 and I'm number 2. So I'm like, yo, who's this whack guy from Brooklyn? I didn't really think he was whack, but I didn't like him because he was trying to take my spot. So I'm like, who's this whack guy? Get him out of here.
Red flag. We can already see that sis is extremely competitive. Now, this is a subtle red flag. Sis was uber competitive.
Remy wants to do a song with you. I was like, oh, really? He was like, I'm going to tell you, I think she like you. He's like, but I'm going to let you know, she's crazy.
Her being crazy did not deter him from working with her, and so they set up a studio date.
We set up the studio session, and she didn't show up.
Red flag. So we already got 2 red flags here. 1, being that Slade described her as crazy. 2, being that she canceled on him. Mind you, she's the one who asked him. I'm thinking to myself, like, all right, so this is raps, right? Because that already shows you the disrespect right there. And I'm sorry, sis, I love you, Remy. That was disrespectful. No call, no show. She just didn't show up.
First of all, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do a record with him because I'm going to smoke this like I smoke every other on the record.
Papoose goes into detail about one of the initial times that he met Remy.
When she come in the studio, she like, yo, turn that shit down. Know what I mean? She wilding the whole room out. She throw her foot up on the desk. I'm blowing smoke. I'm sitting in there. I'm like, what the
Red flag. Sis walked into the studio and started wilding out. Not only that, but you were blowing smoke. And the fact that he was like, hey, you know, that's the type of relationship her and Slay had. I'm like, what kind of relationship is this? There have been multiple interviews where sis says she's crazy. But she even admitted herself that she had a bad attitude. Now, under normal circumstances, if you're a healthy individual and you see these types of behaviors being displayed, the first thing that you're going to think is, you know what, that person is definitely going through something and they have this type of behavior. This would not work well in a relationship, so I'm going to just fall back. That's what you would expect for Mr. Papoose to do, right? Now, let's see his response.
But she just wild in the room. I sit back. I'm like, oh, I like her.
Red flag. He got turned on by that. This man loved it. He loved the fact that she was spazzing out and crashing out. Now remember, we gotta give sis some grace because she had a rough childhood. However, that does not mean that you can walk around being a bully. This just means that if you had a rough childhood, it is probably best to get some type of healing and therapy so that you know how to manage your emotions. The fact that this turned him on just lets me know that he's just as chaotic as she is. He's with the mess. So after she spazzed out on everybody, he said that he was happy that she didn't spaz out on him because then he would have to get active.
But I just stayed to myself. I'm like, I ain't saying nothing to her because if she do that shit, I'm like, I ain't doing that. So I played it cool. She ain't even pay me no attention this time. She ain't say shit to me. She left me the alone. She wowed everybody out in the room.
She was quiet. You stayed in your place.
It's red flag. She doesn't respect him. And I gotta keep it real, y'all. She doesn't. She doesn't respect him. And the fact that she said you were quiet, you knew your place, that lets me know that she thought she was above him. She thought he was a small fry. You ain't nobody. I'm Remy Ma, and I'm able to do what I want when I want, and you're just gonna sit here and take it. If that is the type of relationship that you have even from the beginning, they didn't even get together at this point. This was just a meeting with them collaborating. How can you expect that this behavior will stop when you get into a relationship? Remember, people are celebrating them because it's black love. The cracks were already there from the very beginning. Now more gets revealed. Even though they both expressed that they liked each other, they was feeling each other, I can already see she never saw him as that dude. Let's say, for example, that somebody like Jay-Z was in the studio. I can guarantee you her level of respect would have been totally different. Her behavior would have been different. Her mannerism would have been different. She would not have walked up in the studio like that because she understands that and she respects him. When you don't respect someone, whether it's a man or a woman, then your behavior is going to reflect that, and her behavior clearly reflects that. Let's see what happens when they actually start dating and we'll see if this dynamic changes. Following this encounter, they actually did end up working on a record together, and he was sending her subliminals and flirting with her on the record. And she also said that she was kind of feeling him a little bit, and he was flirting with her the whole time while he was laying down his verse. And he said that she was kind of helping him out and teaching him the ropes about the music business, and also telling him who to look out for, who not to look out for, and kind of just giving him insight and practically schooling him on the business.
Then we just became cool. Like, she used to just school me about the game. Like, she was telling me like certain who they say they is.
This is giving more of like her being in the leader spot. You can clearly see that this type of relationship worked for her. In the next segment, Papoose explains why he fell in love with Remy.
How I knew that she was the one for me was because we'd be sitting in the car just talking all night. And then when I leave her, I'm like, damn, I miss her. You know what I'm saying?
Red flag. Listen, I understand some people like to do coffee dates and car dates to get to know somebody, but we see this lack of care and the fact that they never even really went on a date in the beginning. As far as I can hear, it sounds like they were just homies kicking it, like she was one of the boys. Like I had her in my car, we just smoking and just talking and hanging out. I don't hear any type of pursuing. I don't hear any type of trying to make her feel like a woman. I don't see that or hear that. His reaction is not to pursue and to show that, hey, I'm actually the type of guy that can lead. I'm not sure if it was because of his finances that he couldn't take her out on a proper date, but that's still no excuse. I don't think it's that difficult to do. And you can make a lot of things shake with a little bit, but he wasn't intentional. And that lets me know that he likes to rest a little bit more. He's just doing what's comfortable for him. Maybe he will take the lead going forward, but as for their initial dates and how they came to be, big red flag. The follow-up question was, how was your first date? Where did you take her? And he said, oh, we just sat in my car. That's literally what we always did.
How was your first date? Where did you take her?
We used to do shit like that, just sit and smoke all night. Motherfucking in the car doing shit like that, to be honest.
Like I said, he's not pursuing. He's not a leader. He's cosplaying at this point in time. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I'm going to ruffle feathers, but I got to keep it real. He's cosplaying. Why can't you take her out on a proper date? I'm still confused about that. It doesn't cost much, especially around that time. So what was the holdup, sir? And then sis just makes it worse, y'all. She said that she was the female Snoop Dogg and that she smoked so much and got him to smoke so much, he ended up getting hospitalized.
Remember I told you I was like the female Snoop Dogg, right? Put in the hospital.
Oh, yeah,
Dang.
she fucked me up.
They didn't even smoke like that.
I had to get I almost died.
Red flag. This man nearly died. And sis is saying it like it's nothing. Like, yeah, he almost died in the hospital because I got him to smoke so much. Like, he one of the boys and I'm one of them. This is supposed to be the example of black love. This is the type of love that they push in our community because they're the standard. If these two individuals are the standard and this is how they met, this tells me that our community is at ground zero. Ain't no way that these two are the examples of the type of love that people should find. Now, I know some people gonna come out and be like, oh, but they're American. Best believe there's a Papoose and a Remy Ma in every single community. Trust and believe that, especially in the black community. This is a global epidemic. This young woman was already programmed to be in this type of situation based on her environment. And it saddens me. Following his near-death experience, they got closer and closer. And eventually, they locked in. One thing to note is that they both had children from previous relationships. Remy had one child, a son named Jason, and Papoose had 3. 2 daughters, Dejanay and Destiny, and a son by the name of Shameli. From the time they met in 2004 up until 2007, their relationship was going well. They had their careers and they was just trying to make things shake. They would soon find themselves facing one of the ultimate tests that could either make or break their relationship. On July 13th of 2007, Remy turned herself in and was charged with attempted unaliving, assault, and criminal possession of a weapon after a Bronx woman who had been out partying with her and others was pew-pewed in her car a few hours before dawn in West Chelsea. At the time, Remy was 23 years old, and the woman in question, Makita Barnes Joseph, was also 23 years old, and she was in stable condition at St. Vincent's Hospital, Manhattan. She was shot shortly before 4 a.m. while driving her white Nissan Maxima on Washington Street, just south of West 14th Street. Several hours later, the Nissan was still in the street. The driver's door was open, revealing blood-scattered bills, a black bra, and a gold stiletto pump inside. A black Cadillac Escalade registered to the rapper under her real name was found, crashed 2 blocks away, a little west 12th Street and 10th Avenue. Miss Smith used to be part of hip-hop artist Fat Joe's group Terror Squad and was featured on the 2004 single Lean Back. Her debut album, There's Something About Remy, was released last year by SRC Universal. The police said they were still piecing together the motivation behind the shooting, but relatives of Miss Barnes Joseph said the dispute might have been over money. Miss Barnes Joseph, who works at a real estate office in Manhattan, had been celebrating a friend's birthday with half a dozen others, said her mother, Christina Barnes. Miss Barnes Joseph's brother, Chad Barnes, known as Chad Royal, said his sister knew Miss Smith through a mutual friend, Crystal Bolton, who raps under the name Chris Style. Mr. Barnes said it was Miss Bolton's birthday the group was celebrating. Let's go over this timeline real quick. Sis had just released her album the year before, and remember, the sales weren't doing so great, and she departed from her label and also severed her relationship with Fat Joe and the Terror Squad. We already went through that. Then, remember, at this time, she's still with Papoose touring and doing her other kind of musical ventures out there. And now sis has been accused of trying to unalive somebody over money. Now, this is not sis's first time having trouble with the law. She has also been arrested in 1996, 1998 for pew-pew charges. And not only that, but on February 2nd of 2003, she put a pew-pew to the head of Alvin Lewis in the Randolph Avenue building. I guess that's where she was living at the time. She then pulled the trigger, but somehow he escaped. Red flag. I don't even need to say it, because we already seen that sis has an anger issue. And she's ready to pop off at any moment. Based on that, this situation is not surprising in the slightest. So now after she turned herself in, she really thought that she was going to be able to beat the case. This is why being a hothead does not work. A person who cannot handle their emotions is a dangerous person to be around, because their actions will have consequences everywhere. And instead of people pulling her to the side and kind of letting her know, like, sis, you know, you don't need to be doing this, she has people not holding her accountable, even her man. Because remember, he liked that crazy side of her. He loved the fact that she was always crashing out and being a hothead and wilding out. He said that. He loved it. He couldn't get enough of it. These are the consequences of not being able to manage your emotions. So be careful being around people who do not know how to compose themselves, because this will be a recurring theme unless they get this handled. Based on her childhood, like I said, it's all connected. Because if you're seeing abuse and you're seeing that type of environment in front of you, then you're going to just repeat those patterns and think that this is normal. After pleading not guilty to the charges, she was released from Rikers Island after her manager put up his home as collateral to satisfy a $250,000 bond. So again, was it worth it? So her manager had to put up his home just to be able to bail her behind out because she wanted to go terrorize somebody. And now other people are being affected just based off of her not being able to handle her emotions. Sis was in some serious legal trouble here, and her freedom was on the line.
I'm innocent.
Remy denied that she was involved in the shooting, and their relationship went on as normal. They were so certain that Remy was not going to go to jail over this that they started planning their wedding and also having a baby. Papoose decided to pop the question during her trial, and they got engaged. I know some of you might see that as a green flag because he's holding her down, especially the fact that she's a black woman and she got a black man who's willing to get engaged to her while she is in the fight of her life. However, this is a case study and y'all already know how I do. Red flag, red flag. So I've noticed a theme here. Remy gets herself in some hot water and he's there to save her.
Like, I feel so bad for her.
And you just wanted to be there.
I just wanted to make sure I was there for her. I knew she really needed me.
He loves a damsel in distress. He likes to feel needed and wanted. Because the fact that she's in the fight of her life here, and this man took it upon himself to get engaged to her, while she should be focusing on her freedom, just lets me know that he had an agenda. He knew that she was emotionally distressed. Even though sis has a tough exterior, you can tell that this was weighing on her. She did not want to go to jail. She had 3 charges that could land her in jail for decades. She knew what she was facing. Her label, manager, they all scattered away. They didn't want to be involved in this. But he was showing her that he would be the only man to accept her in this position. Let's fast forward to her conviction. So Remy was convicted to 8 years in prison. Remy Smith, the hip-hop artist convicted in March of pew-pewing a friend in an angry tug-of-war over a purse, was sentenced on Tuesday to 8 years in prison at an emotional court hearing that touched off violence moments later outside the court. Minutes after the sentence was imposed in the hallway outside the courtroom doors, Miss Smith's fiance, Shameli Mackey, Papoose, flew into a rage, lunging and cursing at court officers, then overturning a garbage can near the elevator banks. What really stood out to me was when he shouted at the guards, "Go ahead, lock me up." They should have locked your ass right up. You knew that people was going to hold you back. And that's why his friends ended up taking him out of the courthouse. Not only is our brother Pap a rider, but he's also extremely dramatic. And he also likes to pop off, just like his fiance. They are the same person. This is Bonnie and Clyde behavior. While Papoose was having his dramatic court outburst, his fiance Remy was shipped off to Bedford Hills Correctional Facility for Women, where she would serve out her sentence. Papoose went above and beyond to show his woman that he loved her deep and that he was always going to be there for her. He also helped her mother and her family members raise her son. He visited her every single day while she was in jail.
I'm gonna be at Papoose used to come see me literally every single day, so I was chilling. I was like,
So he came up every day? Every visit?
For the first year, he came literally every single day. When you're in a max, you have a visit every day,
Right,
except for
that's
it
right,
alters
right.
on the weekends,
That's
Saturday
right.
or Sunday. So literally the
Every
first
day.
year,
How
he
far
came
is
every day.
Bedford Hills from?
It's about 45 to an hour, depending on traffic.
So he was running up there every day, like coming up there.
Yeah,
Be
to
back
like, I
tomorrow.
mean, it got to a point where I had to tell him like, yo, like, I'm good. I'm alright. Like, and I guess like when he believed it, like that was alright, and I was like, he was like, alright, cool. And then he'll come like a little bit less. He'll come like 3 times a week, or like, you know, but it still seemed like he was there a lot. I spoke to him literally every day.
And sis even said that he was supposed to be working on his album, and she wanted him to work more on his business and kind of save up money for when she would return.
I was visiting her every day.
He discarded all of that and decided that it was better for him to be up under her.
Around the time when that happened with Rem was around the same time everything happened with my label. I was in a space where I really needed to rebuild, start all over and focus. But at that point, I was like, this is more important. I need to focus on my wife. And I just visited her every day. And she used to tell me like, yo, you can't do this. You got to focus on your career. And I was like, yo, I don't care about that.
Red flag. So I know most of y'all thought this was going to be a green flag because, oh, you know, he's putting her needs in front of his and he's showing that he really cares. No, this shows me that this man did not have anything going on. This also shows me that he would rather be up under her than get some motion going. Because during that time, what were you doing, sir? While your lady was in jail, I know you were helping manage her affairs, but what about yours? Because yours are just as equally important. And I know some people be like, well, he didn't want to be selfish. No, he wanted to be kept. He was a kept man. There's no way around it. I'm not saying that he's lazy. And I'm also not saying that he's wrong for prioritizing her and her needs. However, there was no balance. This man was always at the jail. Sis was locked up for 6 years. This man had 6 years to put out albums, to make moves. And not only was he up under her, they decided to get married, y'all, while she was in jail. Now, I don't know who's behind the New York Daily News, but they had a problem with Remy and they were being messy with this article. I'm gonna read it to y'all. Remy Ma is hearing the sound of wedding bells, not pew pew shots. The troubled hip-hop star is not letting jail time at New York Rikers Island hold her back from marrying Brooklyn rapper Papoose. The New York Daily News reports. The wedding will occur at the jail, and the couple will be allowed 2 guests each. Remy, whose real name is Remy Smith, faces up to 25 years in jail for pew-pewing Makita Barnes Joseph, but we already know she got sentenced to 6, so she was facing 25. To be fair, they wanted to get married before she got locked up. However, after she got locked up, this became the utmost priority, and they decided to set a wedding date.
Well, actually, we was banking on her beating the trial.
Oh.
So we had the wedding planned before she actually went to prison.
Right.
But we actually lost all our money that we put into that wedding because she blew trial. We couldn't have the wedding.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, I can't back out now since she's going to jail. I had to step
You
up to the
could
plate.
have.
However, a situation got in between them and their happily ever after. In an article written by The Intelligencer titled Riker Cancels Rapper Wedding After Groom Sneaks in Handcuff Key. This was before she had her final sentencing. Just remember that. Incarcerated rapper Remy Ma's jailside wedding was called off yesterday when her fiancé tried to smuggle a handcuff key into the nuptials. He was trying to smuggle her out of jail. Now, while this might be noble to a lot of people in the Black love community, this is not noble behavior at all. This is actually extremely risky because now look at what happened. They did this, and then right after she was sentenced to 6 years, because guess what? The judge probably felt like they was playing. This did not help her case at all. And the fact that he would even entertain this lets me know that he's also not wrapped up too tight. Let's continue. She was scheduled to marry fellow rapper Papoose on Rikers Island until guards discovered Papoose's contraband and kicked him off the premises before he even saw his betrothed. Now Remy has to wait until she is up in the maximum security Bedford Hills Correctional Facility for women in Westchester County before she can try to tie the knot again. They just delayed their time. And instead of just accepting things for how they are and taking responsibility, because let's be clear, sis was not accountable at all. She made it seem as if this was just an incident where she was accused of something she didn't do and that she was innocent and that nothing happened. She never took personal responsibility for that. And that's another thing that I flagged as well. And when you have this type of dynamic where they enable each other and they're toxic as hell, then you're going to have this type of behavior displaying. And again, this is the black love that we're supposed to attain to. Now, I'm not here to advocate for interracial relationships. That's not what I'm trying to say at all, because you can find good men in any race. My issue is that when we hold this black love standard and a lot of women see these couples as the standard of black love, and you see this type of behavior, why are we promoting this is what I'm saying. This is not healthy love, and that is what people should strive to have. Let's continue. Get out of my face, Papoose snarled at a reporter yesterday as he returned to his Cadillac SUV in the jail's parking lot. I don't want to talk. The still single mixtape king who had worn his Sunday best Yankee cap for the occasion. You all write racist articles. He was saying that they was being racist against Remy because of the media coverage that they were getting. But then we see this kind of behavior, and it's not the behavior that's the problem. It's the racist people trying to keep us down, trying to hold us down. While that is, in fact, an issue in the community, let's be clear, sometimes we also have to take accountability. Sir, you tried to smuggle in a key to get your girl out, knowing that it was illegal, and you thought you weren't going to get caught. On Rikers Island? See, this is what I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to be a little gentle because they're kinfolk. I got to keep it real. It's not very intelligent to think that you could get through and be able to smuggle something, especially since she's a high-profile artist, but you were blinded by black love. So you thought you were above the law. And these people had to remind you that you're not. Now, you would think that after the courtroom outburst and him trying to smuggle the skeleton key, after all of these obstacles, self-inflicted, by the way, our sis Remy and our brother Papoose tied the knot, y'all, over a jail call. And they were able to show us that they were gonna ride with each other and be together for life. After their nuptials, they were able to have conjugal visits. And our good brother Papoose had some plans in mind. And now that he got the marriage that he wanted a baby to follow it. Prior to Remy going to jail, his plan was to marry her and have a baby. Their baby plans were interrupted because remember, sis decided that she wanted to go and cause chaos in the New York streets. So then that plan foiled. But y'all know our brother Papoose does not like to give up. His dream was to have a baby with Remy. Not only that, but he was even willing to go the extra mile and have that baby in jail.
We had plans of having a child before she went to prison. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, she blew trial. So when she was incarcerated, I told her, hey, listen, we can have the baby in here since we're getting trailer visits. I'll take care of the baby while you're incarcerated. That way, when you come home, you don't got to take a break from your job or nothing.
Red flag. So let me get this straight, brother Papoose. Your wife is in jail, incarcerated, with guards surrounding her at all times. And because you wanted a baby and you wanted to fulfill your fantasy, he wanted to take care of the baby and would give her visitation. This man was obsessed. The fact that he didn't even think about her health, he didn't think about the baby being born in those conditions. He just wanted the end goal, which is the baby. Our sis Remy, she got locked up at 23. Her frontal lobe developed after 25, so she started to realize things. She started to become wiser and smarter while she was locked up. And she also had the good sense to know that this was not a good idea. She didn't want to have a baby in prison because there would be guards there. She would be strapped to the bed. And it's not a good environment to bring a child into this world.
She didn't want to do that.
No.
Unfortunately, let me
He's
finish.
leaving out the part
Let
where
me
you're
finish.
in labor, your man is not there, you're shackled to the bed,
Right.
You can't see him.
Thank you, sis. Because this man is clearly delusional. While sis was serving out her sentence in prison, she had time to sit her hot-headed ass down and reflect. In an interview, she went over how she's doing in jail and how she's coping with her new life. There are a few highlights of the interview that I want to go over. The interviewer asked her what did she miss the most while she was locked up, and she said that she missed her son and her family. She missed chilling and being outside. Then she missed recording.
Well, what's the one thing you miss the most?
The most?
Top 3. You don't have to name one, you can name a few.
Just my son and my family and just chilling.
Papoose.
Yeah.
Thunder. Right, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just chilling, like waking up, doing whatever I want to do. Not necessarily one particular thing, just waking up and doing whatever I want to do.
Living your regular
waking
life.
up when I feel like it.
Red flag. This already lets me know that he was being annoying. He was too much in her business while she was in jail. She didn't even have time to self-reflect and spend time to herself and try to figure out what she's going to do next in life. We're going to let this red flag slide a little bit because he was in her face every day. And I'm sure sis didn't have time to miss him. So let's continue. She said that her and Papoose had trailer visits and they usually see each other every 6 weeks. However, at the time of this interview, she got into a fight with an officer, got a ticket, and those visits were suspended.
I kind of got locked and I kind of like lost my packages and my phone privileges and my commissary and my trailer visits for a little while.
What?
I thought you just said you was being good. What happened?
I was.
What are you doing? You beat somebody up?
No.
Somebody
Let me think, should I go in on a nasty weave wearing, dusty boot having, pumping her breasts in a correctional facility? Just had a baby officer that lied on me, romantic.
Red flag. Sis, when are you going to learn to control your anger issues? This is getting out of hand. Every time I turn, it's either you getting into something or your husband. How come you guys cannot just be and exist and learn healthy ways to communicate? Y'all always got to get riled up, even in jail. Sis is still getting into it with guards. Her and her man like to fight the officers. Let's just put it this way. If they like to fight other people, then what makes you think that they don't like to fight each other? Oh, I can't wake that up though. All right, let's move on. Sis continues on to say that she feels like she's not supposed to be in jail. Lack of accountability.
That's the only thing that bothers. Besides me being in jail, away from my son, and the fact that the whole thing was a lie.
The victim gave her side of the story, and not only that, but the court found that there was enough evidence to convict you. And instead of taking accountability, she's always steady deflecting. That's a problem. She said that she's changed and that she knows that people are praying for her downfall, but she's not going to let them see her sweat because she can't wait to be released to pop out and make the haters mad again.
You're never going to be me. Anybody praying and wishing on my downfall, I don't care. And I'm still going to come home and
go hard
and then what? Like, you're gonna say nothing.
She also said that she's an independent artist and wanted to head that way before her incarceration, but then she got locked up and things kind of fell apart. Then the interviewer asked, when are you and Pap going to get in the booth and come out with something? And she said, I don't know, because I be killing him on all the tracks. And then she started laughing. Sis, we know you're not joking. We know you like to compete with your husband.
When you come out, you and Pap gonna get in the booth, do a mixtape together? Like, how's that gonna work?
I don't know, because I be killing him on all the tracks that we do.
She said, we have so many songs together, and he wants a Mr. and Mrs. Mackey mixtape.
And he's like, we're doing the Mr. and Mrs. Mackey mixtape, whatever. We was actually doing an album together.
Okay.
And we have numerous songs together.
Yeah, he just released one on the Papoose season mixtape. There's a song with you and him where you said, I'm a home wrecker, I'll your husband.
Oh, okay, that's all.
This old track, yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say, really?
Pap, I'm sorry.
I did not clear that.
Sorry.
They also planned to do an album together. They were starting to combine their brands. Another thing that she mentioned in this interview was that she wished that she kept her and Papoose's relationship under wraps.
How did you hide it from the public?
Easy.
Not easy, Rem.
People don't even think I like people. Like my attitude is disgusting. Easy, like, hi, what up, people? Give a pound. Like, it'd be funny because, like, I leave, I'd be at the house getting my makeup done, getting dressed up. Especially, like, if we would be on the same bill, it'd be hilarious because I'd be at the house getting my makeup done, getting my hair done, and we leave in separate cars or whatever, and we'll get to the show, and I say, well, what up, man? What's up, whatever? And it'd be done, like, all right. Whatever. And then we'll leave. We'll take pictures. We'll be at the picture line. Just one day, everything was just crazy. Like, no ease it in or anything. But I don't know. I think I liked it better before.
Then Sis spoke about her appeal because at the time they were trying to get an appeal for her and she was waiting for it. Spoiler alert, it got rejected and denied. All right. Now, one thing that I did know that I thought was positive, so this is a green flag, was that she learned that she trusted people too much and that she always gave and gave and gave to people and they never gave to her in return. She's too generous. She often gives people second chances when they don't deserve it. And a lot of people have betrayed her and people always take from her.
I'm from the bottom. Like, I think I trust people too much and I try to help people. Like, I've been through so much that anybody, if you ever looked at my circle, everybody is underdogs. Like, from my DJ to my manager to everybody in my circle, if you ask anybody, like, how did they meet me, it's on something like, oh, I do this, here goes my card, I'm trying to get on, I'm trying to, like, all right, that's what you're trying to do, I'll give you a chance, like, here, come on, work for me. All right, you do makeup, you do this, you do hair, come on, like, I give people a chance.
Shot, yeah.
And all the time, people are not out for my best interest, and they not only out for their best interest, they don't want what you're trying to give them. They want what you're trying to give them and what you got.
Seems like Sis was a people pleaser. Being a people pleaser is draining. Kudos to Sis for trying to change that part of herself. Now let's fast forward a bit to 2014. After 6 years in the Bedford Women's Correctional Facility, Remy was released from prison. After Remy was released from prison, you would think that she would have time to rest and to integrate herself back into society. Y'all know her man likes to plan and he had other things in mind. Instead of her resting, he wanted her to labor. Her husband/manager, our brother Papoose, decided that their story of black love needed to be televised to the world. And in 2015, not even a full year after she got home, they joined the cast of Love and Hip Hop New York in 2015. Stay tuned for part 2 of this case study.